With us now, former press advisor, then House Speaker John Boehner, Maura Gillespie. Also with us, CNN political commentator Paul Begala. All right, Paul, what did you think of the message? What did you think of the messenger there?
I think Gavin Newsom's doing a great job. Democrats, well, everybody wants strength. He's showing strength. By the way, this whole myth that, oh, this is a very difficult line for Governor Newsom to walk, that's baloney. All he's saying is everybody who's raised a kid has said this, right? Violence is wrong. Vandalism is wrong. But peaceful protest is always patriotic. So it's pretty simple, actually. When my son Johnny punched my son Billy, I would say, Johnny, use your words. We don't hit, right? This is actually a very elemental. He's not walking a high wire. He's walking right in the middle of the road. And Republicans, by the way, Republicans are not the party of law and order. They elected a felon president. Donald Trump's a criminal. He's a crook. And it's not about violence in the streets. We know that because if that was the case, President Trump would have called out the National Guard when real rioters attacked the United States Capitol, 140 cops injured, including Michael Fanone, who was tased until he had a heart attack. And Trump seemed to encourage them before the riot, ignored it during the riot, and then pardoned them after the riot. So I think Newsom is exactly right where he needs to be.
Maura, you know, Paul was saying it's not this conundrum that people say it is. One of the reasons people are saying it is because senators like John Fetterman, a Democrat, are suggesting this might not be a great look. Not Newsom in particular, but the demonstrations in general. He put out a tweet yesterday where he said, my party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement. Of course, as Paul notes, I mean, Governor Newsom and every Democrat I've heard is condemning those things. But Fetterman's saying, in a way that Democrats need to be careful. What do you think?
I think what he's referring to is the mistakes that were made in 2020. Democrats acknowledge that they dragged their feet on prioritizing public safety over the political ramifications surrounding the George Floyd protest. And so we saw that play out. They acknowledged it. And so what he is referring to is the tightrope that they are walking and how they handle the protests that are happening not only in LA, but that are scheduled to happen across the country leading up to this Saturday as well. The King Day is what they're calling it, protest. And so prioritizing public safety and maintaining order is just as important, if not more important, it's more important than scoring a political point. And I think that's what John Fetterman is saying here, is that you lose the moral high ground if that's your only focus, is to make sure you're getting the politics right. I think by and large, Americans are really kind of sick of politicians going too far. They can't just be pragmatic. You can say that it was bad what happened in 2020 and letting cities burn, just as bad in January 6th, letting people attack law enforcement. You can't just cherry pick when you decide that you support protesters and when you don't. I think you have to be across the board consistent, and that's what's frustrating here.
Paul, Gavin Newsom, is he filling a political vacuum here that has existed for Democrats since Inauguration Day?
Oh, absolutely. Democrats have no leader because they have no leader. We're in the wilderness. They've lost the House, they lost the Senate, they lost the White House. They don't really have power. But they do have the podium, at least Gavin Newsom does. And you'll see others, I think, we're a long, long way from the next election. But you'll see others step up. But I think Newsom is showing, I think Maura, by the way, is 100% right. She's right where most people are. Violence, bad, but protest, good. And let's be honest, a lot of Democrats I've seen have said this, and I think they're right. This is Trump using division for diversion. Why is he doing this? Because he's trying to divert attention from the fact that he's got this big, ugly bill that is going to cut 14 million people off of their health care. It'd be the largest reduction in health coverage in American history. He tried to fire 80,000 people at the VA who help our veterans, and he's going to add $3 trillion to the national debt. That's why he's doing this, is he wants to divert attention. And tragically, he's using those terrific National Guards troops and apparently now the Marines as a political prop.
Yeah, look, there's all kinds of reporting this morning that he was glum last week during the fight with Elon Musk, and now he's invigorated this week in his fight with Gavin Newsom and what's going on in the streets in Los Angeles. On that subject of Elon Musk, Maura, Elon Musk tweeted at 3:04 a.m., I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far. When I woke up and saw the tweet, I'm like, oh, he's apologizing. This is a full retreat. But as I think about it, I say some. Why say some there? Is he still going to fight over this bill?
I think he is. I also think it's just ego. You have two people who had such massive egos. And let's not forget, Elon Musk was given unfettered access to that White House, and he stood behind more or less the Resolute desk and took questions from the media. You know, he, in my view, when I watched that, several of the instances where he spoke with the press, not just his leaving day, but other times too, when he talked about Doge, you know, he was more or less acting as if he was basically President Jr. And really thought that he had the authority. So he doesn't want to caveat too much. He knows that he is in the wrong in a lot of those cases, like the Jeffrey Epstein tweet. He didn't have much meat behind it. And so you see that that's where he's meaning some.
Paul, quick word on Elon Musk?
Yeah, I just can't quit you. Or maybe I just can't quit those billions of dollars in federal contracts. I'm not interested in the reboot of Brokeback Billionaires. They can have their relationship, and I wish them well.
All right, Morgan Gillespie, Paul Begala, I have enjoyed some of this conversation. Thank you so much for being with us.